Good afternoon and welcome to the news on TV1. You're watching News First, where the people come first. For the News First team, I'm Shehan Ranatunga. Let's first take a look at your headlines.
State funeral of Britain's longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, set to take place today. Sri Lanka to provide information on debt restructuring and the IMF program to international creditors. Signing of petitions against the increase of electricity tariffs begins.
Then Janatha khanda nathuwa tiyala hamade tiyala numara marana aanduwak me aanduwa.
School children given the opportunity to visit Parliament from tomorrow.
Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, the UK's longest serving monarch, died at Balmoral, aged 96 on the 8th of September after reigning for 70 years. Now, after days lying in state, the body of the late Queen Elizabeth II will begin its final journey in a few hours' time as part of a grand state funeral.
The Queen's lying in state at Westminster Hall was closed at 11 a.m. Sri Lankan time today. Since it opened last Wednesday, hundreds of thousands of people have gone to pay their respects to the late monarch, with many standing for more than 10 hours in a queue that stretched across central London. The state funeral of Her Majesty the Queen will take place at Westminster Abbey on Monday the 19th of September at 11 a.m. local time at 3:30 p.m. in Sri Lankan time. Today, the lying in state will end and the coffin will be taken in procession from the Palace of Westminster to Westminster Abbey, where the state funeral service will take place. Following the state funeral, the coffin will travel in procession from Westminster Abbey to Wellington Arch. From Wellington Arch, the coffin will travel to Windsor, and once there, the state hearse will travel in procession to St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, via the Long Walk. A committal service will then take place in St. George's Chapel. Some 500 heads of state and foreign leaders will be attending the funeral later today. King Charles III says he was quote-unquote moved beyond measure by the number of people who have come to pay their respects to his mother.
Now, in other news, according to a Reuters report, Sri Lanka will make a presentation to its international creditors this Friday, laying out the full extent of its economic troubles and plans for a debt restructuring and multi-billion-dollar international monetary fund bailout.
According to Reuters, the Ministry of Finance said in a statement via legal firm Clifford Chance that an online call on September 23rd would be open to all its external creditors and be an interactive session in which participants can ask questions. The statement further read, according to the report, that Sri Lankan authorities intend to update their external creditors on the most recent macroeconomic developments, the main objectives of the reform package agreed with the IMF, and the next step of the debt restructuring process. Sri Lanka managed to reach a preliminary deal with the IMF, and if formalized, it would provide the country $2.9 billion in loans over 4 years. Years of economic mismanagement combined with the COVID-19 pandemic have left Sri Lanka in its worst economic crisis since independence from Britain in 1948, causing it to default on its sovereign debt.
In the meantime, speaking at a rally in Vadua yesterday, the General Secretary of the Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna, Tilvin Silva, he expressed these views regarding the debt crisis.
The government of Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Rajapakshas have placed their trust on the IMF. They are trying to overcome this debt crisis through a loan obtained from the IMF. Can a debt crisis be resolved by obtaining more debt? If the problem is debt, can the solution be debt as well? The answer cannot be more debt, but the crisis started by obtaining loans. Now they are trying to obtain loans from the IMF. They did not approve a loan yet. They proposed $2.9 billion, but it must be approved by the director board. The loans will have to be repaid within 4 years with a payment every 6 months. If you divide $2.9 billion by 4, it amounts to $725 million, that is per year, $360 million per 6 months. We need $400 million per month to purchase fuel. Therefore, Will this help the country? We will receive nothing from that. This problem amounts to between 10 to 15 billion US dollars. Samagi Janabalawege parliamentarian Ranjit Madhuma Bandara says the government does not have a proper roadmap to rebuild the economy. In this bankrupt country, the youth are on the verge of migrating to foreign countries such as Japan, America and Korea. Everyone is disappointed about the political culture. After one group stole from the public have now put everyone in the same basket. They are disappointed with politicians. We must change this political culture. We are in second place when it comes to malnutrition. We are second in inflation. We must focus on how we can recover from this.
දේශපාලන සංස්කෘතිය විනාශ කරන්නේ මන්ද භෝෂණයෙන් ආසියාවේ දෙවෙනි තැන උද්දමනයෙන් ලෝකේ දෙවෙනි තැන එනම් මේ රට අපි කොහොමද ගොඩනගන්නේ
Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister, President's Counsel Ali Sabri will leave for New York today to attend the United Nations General Assembly. The Foreign Minister will deliver Sri Lanka's statement at the 77th session of the UN General Assembly on the 24th of September in New York. During the visit, he will address several ministerial level meetings, such as the meeting of foreign ministers of the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, the ministerial meeting of the Group of Friends of the Global Development Initiative and the Non-Aligned Movement Foreign Ministers meeting. He will also hold bilateral discussions with the foreign ministers of UN member states. In addition, Minister Ali Sabri will also meet with the highest level of UN officials in New York. The highest level segment of the United Nations session will be held from the 20th to 26th of September. The signing of a public petition against the increase of electricity tariffs started in Fort Colombo today. The program was organized by the National Bhikkhu Front. The signing of the petition highlighted the exorbitant fuel prices and inflation. Temples and churches will not have electricity. They will have to be kept in the dark. They have burdened the public by increasing electricity tariffs, fuel prices and water bills. People are unable to live. Through this petition, we urge the government of Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Rajapaksas to reduce the price of electricity, fuel and water. By increasing those prices, this government is indirectly killing the people. Although the government set up a certified price for a kilogram of paddy has not been purchased from farmers yet. As a result, farmers have no option but to sell their produce at an extremely low price.
Farmers of Kandruwela Hatara Parakum Samudriya movement in Polonnaruwa are unable to reap their harvest this season as the purchasing of paddy under the certified price from the Paddy Marketing Board Centre has been temporarily halted. As a result, farmers are selling their produce for 80 to 90 rupees to private vendors.
කොහෙවත් ඒව ගන්න පිළිවෙලක් හදලා පිට ගොවියෝ තමයි ගන්නේ මේ අඩුවට මිනිසුන්ගේ 85 90 ඒ වගේ ගන්න ඉතින් මිනිස්සු කරන්න දෙයක් නැතු මිනිස්සුන්ට කුලිය දෙන්න එපා ඒකින්ද වී ඒ ගන්න මිනිස්සු දෙනවා ඉතින් කරගන්න දෙයක් නැති හින්දා.
Amidst challenges posed by the fuel and fertilizer crises, farmers of Malimbada Matara commenced cultivation for this season at the best of their ability. However, farmers pointed out that the required amount of produce was not reaped. These farmers are facing the challenge of selling their produce for a fair price.
Convening a media briefing in Polonnaruwa, the All Ceylon Agrarian Federation expressed these views regarding the economic crisis.
They said the Paddy Marketing Board will be open to purchasing a kilogram of paddy for 120 rupees. We challenge Minister Mahinda Amaravira, show us the paddy you purchased for 120 rupees. Where have you purchased it from? Please reveal this. How much paddy was purchased from the Polonnaruwa Paddy Marketing Board? How much from Ampara? How much have you purchased from Anuradhapura, Kantale and Trincomalee? The government did not purchase. It was an absurd price they decided. To cultivate a kilogram of paddy, it costs the farmer more than 135 rupees. Who decided this price? Which research institute? This price was decided after discussing it with businessmen. By next week, farming communities will take to the streets against this price. Minister Mahinda Amaravira must remember that.
Meanwhile, national organizer of the All Ceylon Agrarian Federation, Namal Karunaratne, expressed the following views regarding the fertilizer crisis.
Hand
over the fertilizer you got free of charge to the farmers free of charge. How can the government sell a bundle of fertilizer for 10,000 rupees? They charged 350 rupees for a bundle of fertilizer which they received free of charge. There have been instances where the price was 500 rupees. The government has no right to sell these at 10,000 rupees. This is unfair. Receiving aid is not like getting a loan. Don't sell the aid you received. Farmers tied down their money to purchase fertilizer for that yalla season. There is no fertilizer. One farmers' organization spent 900,000 rupees to purchase fertilizer. Not even 1/4 of the fertilizer bundles were received. Farmers from Hambantota and Ampara are calling, saying that they paid, but there is no fertilizer. Some got fertilizer by the time they reaped their harvests. It was too late then.
Farmers who commenced cultivations amidst many difficulties have now begun to reap their harvests. However, in addition to the prevailing issues, farmers are facing serious problems owing to wild elephant encroachments.
Farmers have begun reaping the harvest of paddy fields of the D5 Raja Ela area in Kantale. Wild elephants attacked a machine used to reap the harvest in the paddy field. Farmers request the authorities to provide a solution to this problem. Meanwhile, residents of Helembava, Anuradhapura are severely inconvenienced due to wild elephant attacks. They point out that wild elephant herds encroach their village.
Now, long queues of vehicles waiting to purchase fuel are once again seen at filling stations in many areas today. According to our correspondent, many filling stations had not received fuel for several days.
Only one filling station in Kurunegala had fuel this morning. As a result, a long queue was seen near the filling station. Long queues were seen in Vadua as well. This was the situation at fuel stations in several areas, including Walana and Nallaruwa.
News First with the people.
A Ukrainian journalist has released pictures of the 7 Sri Lankans in Ukraine who were kidnapped by Russian forces. The 6 men and 1 woman aged 20 to 40 arrived in Ukraine around 3 weeks before the all-out invasion last March and rented a house in Kupiansk. They were hiding in their house for some time until they decided to try and flee into Kharkiv, which is under Ukraine. However, they were stopped at the first Russian checkpoint that they tried to cross. The Russians blindfolded them and took them in an unknown direction, which later turned out to be Vovchansk, also occupied until a few days ago. In other news, the limitations imposed on the public to visit the parliamentary complex have been relaxed. The decision was reached after receiving the approval of the Committee on Parliamentary Affairs regarding the relevant proposal.
With the COVID-19 pandemic, there were certain limitations imposed on the public entering the parliamentary complex and the gallery. By relaxing these restrictions, certain groups will be able to visit the complex and witness debates in step-by-step process. Accordingly, the proposal to open galleries to school students was presented. It was passed. School students will be allowed to the complex on the days which do not have parliament meetings from 9:30 am to 3 pm.
The program to create the longest painting in the country with the participation of school children from all over the island is being held for the 19th day in the Matara district. The over 1,000 feet long painting will be unveiled on Universal Children's Day, which is marked on the 1st of October under the theme Rise Together. Students from the Matara Rahula College joined the program to add colour to the longest painting. The program is organised by Sirasa TV in association with the Ministry of Education. Now, one of the biggest typhoons ever to strike Japan has made landfall in the southern island of Kyushu.
Typhoon Nandamal has brought winds of at least 180 kilometers per hour, and some areas could see 500 millimeters of rainfall over yesterday and today. At least 4 million people have been told to evacuate their homes. Extensive flooding and landslides are expected, while bullet train services, ferries and hundreds of flights have been cancelled. The typhoon made landfall near the city of Kagoshima on the southern tip of Kyushu yesterday. The typhoon is now moving north across Kyushu, dropping huge amounts of rain on the mountainous center of the island. It is expected to travel up through central Japan towards Tokyo over the coming days and to maintain much of its strength as it moves.
US President Joe Biden has restated that the US would defend Taiwan in the event of an unprecedented attack by China.
Speaking in an interview, Joe Biden replied yes when asked if that meant US forces would defend Taiwan. The interview aired on Sunday, prompting the White House to reiterate that US policy had not changed. Washington's policy have always been one of strategic ambiguity. It does not commit to defending Taiwan, but also does not rule out the option. Biden said, quote, "There is one China policy and Taiwan makes their own judgments on their own independence. We are not moving, not encouraging their being independent. That's their decision," end quote.
Now in some football news. 15-year-old Ethan Nwaneri became the youngest player in Premier League history in Arsenal's 3-0 win over Brentford.
Replaced Fabio Vieira for the Gunners in stoppage time at Brentford Community Stadium. Aged 15 and 181 days, Nwaneri beat the record held by Harvey Elliott. Liverpool midfield Elliott was 16 years and 30 days old when he played for Fulham in 2019. Nwaneri replaced Vieira, who had scored the third goal after 91 minutes and 2 seconds. He was involved for 3 minutes and 42 seconds before the game ended after 94 minutes and 44 seconds. He is the first player under the age of 16 to play in the Premier League.
And that's it from the News First desk for now. Thank you for watching.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන් දත්ත වැඩියෙන් සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කළඹන වුවත් සලකුණ News First YouTube channel එක අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග